Excuse me. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Non-Classic. This is episode number 3029, and Doubleshot number 2923. Now here we're discussing, well, Superboy, Volume 4, issues 31 through 46. I'm also discussing Superboy and the Ravers number 10. And there's a reason why I'm discussing that one, because it actually is a crossover with the storyline in this book, along with Steel, issues 21 through 33 and 35 to 40. Now, 31 and 32 are two standalone issues. 31 is done by Eddie Berganza. It is mostly called Summer Fun. Also, love how the top of the book is a cool nod to mid-60s comics with a checker top. It mostly has this guy who really wants to get some girls, so he becomes a hunk. And it turns out just an illusion, because of course he's basically just thwarted by Superboy. Then we have this guy called Knife Phantom. Then we have this beautiful woman named Dakini show up to basically deal with her, and of course deal with Superboy. Almost like basically Superboy's flirting with her, but doesn't really go anywhere at all because he's basically dating Tina. Yep, it's a pretty interesting standalone issue. Oh yeah, and apparently the chubby guy is actually arrested by the end of the issue. He just basically here for this one issue. And then here's something interesting though. This book actually is one of two books discussed here, written by a guy who still writes comics. Well, not 32, of course. Actually, I think it's 30. Let me check here. Because I kind of forgot he did an issue for this book. Because this guy used to be an editor. And he stopped being an editor and did fill-in books. And, well, so in the case of 32, it is basically Return of King Shark. Yep, King Shark. And we also have Ron Martz back in the book. Now the reason I'm skipping 47 because that was a crossover with Green Lantern. Let's see, because I remember seeing his name on these books. Because this guy still writes comics right now. Ron Martz doesn't write as much, but he still writes. Let's see if we can find it here. Oh, he actually didn't write a book for this one. Now, in case you're curious, though, about Ron Martz, the guy who was the writer for this book, he actually would do this book. 32 actually his very first issue he writes. Yes. And kind of in a way, we're going to discuss his whole run for this book. You're thinking, really? Yeah, really. Basically, up until 47, with the exception of about 3 issues, it's all done by Ron Martz. Yeah, it's a very short run for the book. Yes, so King Shark is back. First time to the Suicide Squad issues. And he's actually been weird, so Superboy gets a fight with him. And then, of course, basically this whole thing with mention about Knockout and various other stuff happened in the book. Tina, of course, basically just here. She's still in a relationship with Superboy. And then we have Hawaii Erupts. That's the very next issue. Well, basically what happens in the next issue, it's a tie-in to Final Nights. One of 2 crossovers we have in this book. Yes, believe it or not, one of 2 times we actually have basically a crossover, a Company White one tie in this very book. Final Night is basically just Superboy and his time, what he was doing during the whole event. Seeing Hawaiian Islands covered in snow. And there's also a major story coming up that actually would change the direction of the book and change how the character's portrayed. I'll get to that later. Oh, in case you're curious, though, it's a standalone issue, just like Robin. Yeah, Robin also had like 1 issue time in the Final Night. This is another crossover coming really soon. Then we have Oh, let's have where in issue 34 called Brain Blast. Well, the story is called Gag Metal, basically a reference about King Sharkers. Superboy still continues relationship with Tina. Also, Roxy revealed in the previous issue that she actually confessed her feelings for Superboy, but he turned her down because he's dating Trina, the beautiful reporter. And this relationship will actually end really soon. Because, of course, Caesar is like a little sister, he basically doesn't want to do anything to her at all. And then, of course, you have Duplex acting really weird. And then these people in suits show up. Yes, these people in suits, who are actually part of this group known as The Agenda. Yes, and the weird thing is, in these issues, they appear only once, and they're referenced one at a time after this. Yes, The Agenda. What is the point of The Agenda? I have no idea. Seriously, I have no freaking idea. It's like they're here for like 2 issues, and then it's like they show up here, and then I don't remember if they did it, because I barely remember these characters in this book, because I read this several years ago, and I don't remember these guys doing anything in this book. Yeah, 32 technically was debut of them. But in the case of Superboy, they kind of play a small role. Like they're here in this book. For issues 32 and 35 and 36, and they come back for a major storyline afterwards, but they don't do much in this book. You could say the only thing major that this book group did do was the introduction of Match. The clone of a clone. Yes, Match, the clone of Superboy. Yep, that was pretty much the whole purpose of this character. Yeah, the whole purpose of it. He's basically a clone of a clone. Just like how Superboy is a clone of Superman. That's kind of basically the purpose of it. It's like the whole thing is just introduce his character, have Superboy fight him, and we also see this woman named Amanda Splice. And she's a character who only exists in this, mostly deals with Superboy in this very book. Yeah. And after basically escaped from them, and then we have a standalone issue. He deals with a guy called Sludge. Yes, Sludge. Which, of course, he basically is kind of DC's version of the Juggernaut. Which he is not the original character for Superboy. He's from Guy Gardner. He's only here for this issue and another issue. At one point, Superboy saves Roxy from this guy, and her father's very happy about that. Yes, her father. Excuse me. And then 38 begins a 4-part storyline known as Meltdown. Well, the purpose, basically, it's kind of a small build-up to this thing, like for a couple issues. You see, Superboy has got a pimple on his face. He apparently got it when he visited the Agenda. And he gets like a meltdown with him. So, then of course, they involve Superboy in the Ravers for an issue. Yes, seriously. They cross over with his spin-off book. So, first he ends up fighting Copperhead in the storyline. Yes, classic DC villain Copperhead. They're like, okay. Interesting. And of course, the Garden. Basically, they bring Superboy to Metropolis, basically Project Cannabis. And of course, Roxy's father gets involved in this thing. And then, for some reason, the story continues over in Superboy and the Ravers, where the Ravers themselves show up to support Superboy. Excuse me. It's like the whole point of the issue would just basically have the Superboy and the Ravers issue be a tie-in. It's literally what it is. It's just a tie-in to this very storyline. Um, those who are curious about the Ravers, they're literally a spin-off group of Superboy. They're basically just led by Superboy. They're kind of mostly existing in their own book. This was one of like in case you're curious though, the Ravers technically only appeared in the main Superboy book once. Yes, only once. Toward the end of the book, because most of the time this group just were confined to their own spin-off book, and well, pretty much basically their headquarters is a place called the Event Horizon. Yep. And then we'll find the finale for this, issue 31, which you have a big drastic change with the character. So Roxy basically gives him some magenta material to stabilize him, and she's perfectly fine afterwards. But it's revealed at the end of this that Superboy can no longer age. His body is stuck at 16. And he basically, for the next few issues, basically just doesn't give a damn about that. He just basically acts like a teenager. And then later on, Tina breaks up with him. By issue 46. Yeah, she breaks up with him because of his immature, because he's being immature. And he basically wants to talk. He basically kind of dragged out at work. He also gets hurt for stealing these issues. Yeah, the Superboy family, the Superman family deals with basically this. Ashes to Ashes basically just we have this character, Victor Vukum, who makes a brief return in this book. Probably as part of a flashback, but this is probably the last time we're going to see him aside from issue Superman and make our appearances. Mostly put, that's kind of what it is. And eventually, of course, he gets back to Hawaii the very next issue, and Barbara Kitzel takes over for the next few issues. Yeah, Barbara Kitzel does issue 43, which, nice the fact that she did it. Now, would this be her only book that she would work on as a writer for this book? For Superboy? No, she would also do 44 as well. She's also the writer of 2 of the annuals of this book. Yeah, she also even wrote an annual for Supergirl. Yep, it's a quick 2-part thing involving the return of Crypto the Superdog, and by 46 basically, that's when Tina breaks up with him. 45 is a quick guest appearance by Lady Superheroes. It's a loose follow-up to the Meltdown issue. That's kind of what 45 is, with the Lita show up here. We also deal with appearance by a character called Silver Sword, which I believe this is a character who was he's just a recurring character. Basically 47 would be his last appearance in this book. Yeah, last time he appeared. He's back here for these 2 issues, and that's pretty much it for him. And it's almost like basically like 47, kind of in a way, the crossover with basically with Kyle Rayner. Yeah, 46 is when the breakup happens, and then 47 is basically the crossover with Kyle Rayner. And it was kind of in a way Ron March's goodbye to the book. Says here he did issue 48, which is that's kind of odd. I don't know why he's. Let me check this here. Because I thought that 47 was his last issue. It's credited on the cover being the Kitzels. Yeah, it's Barbara Kitzel. Yep. Yeah, she's the writer of this issue, not Ron Martz. Yeah, but that's kind of in a way the run for Superboy in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for Ron Martz anyways. Very interesting run. I thought it was actually really good. I did not think anything issue was bad. No, not really. But in the case of these issues, they're amazing. It's just that the only thing sad about these issues is that oh, in case you're curious, Barbara Kitzel's run for the book for Superboy, it's going to be a tad bit longer, but by issue it's going to be very interesting, basically, to say goodbye to this book. Well, not right now, anyways. But in the case of Ron March's hand in the book, amazing. I give the book roughly a 9 out of 10. Next up, basically, we have is Steel. Yes. These issues in particular, we are discussing. Come on. Thank you. Like I mentioned before, issues number 21 to 33. Excuse me. And 35 to 40. Because 34 discussed already in a Steel 30th anniversary trade. The first couple issues in here are Underworld tie-ins. And of course, also in these issues, we're also going to be discussing the end of Louise Simonson's time in the book. Yes, so the biggest thing with issue 21 is basically Steel taking Metallo. Yep. And a little super drama. And of course you have the next couple issues. We have issue 22 be a loose tie-in to Trial of the Superman. Yes, it's a tie-in. Which is interesting to say the least. The fact that because he goes into space and kind of in a way this issue basically deals with it. And of course deal with someone called Hardware, who was like who basically like debuted in issue 23. He's only here for these 3 issues, and this issue is his debut appearance. He also takes on Hazard, who debuted in issue 6 of this very book, and well, he's here until issue 39. He does return. He doesn't do much after this book wraps up. Not really, no. And there's also this beautiful woman named Shell Shock by this group called Black Ops. And 23, sadly, will be her last appearance in the book. Yeah. Of course, Superman makes a guest appearance in issues. And of course, well, the character Hardware, he dies in issue 24, when he comes back in 25. Yeah, and Black Ops themselves, they're kind of in a way recurring villains of Steel, but after 27, they're done. Yeah, 27, they're basically done with this book. And also in issue 25, Steel gets outed. Yeah, he gets outed. Basically, he really who really is, and he ends up fighting. His own niece ends up fighting him, and one point he has Steel in prison, but he gets out, no problem. And then in issue 20, he takes on, like on the cover, it looks like, oh crap, taking on Parasite. Nope, it's a guy called Plasmus. And you're all thinking, who the heck is Plasmus? He was a member of Brotherhood of Mutants. He was a Marv Wolfman creation. And you're like, huh? Yeah, he debuted in the follow-up story of the Doom Patrol in New Teen Titans. He was a recurring villain for them. And if you're curious, this is the only time he fought Steel. Mm-hmm. Oh, and this was the issue where, excuse me, I think this was, Steel 28 would be the only issue of this whole book written by a writer who I've met, Peter Tomasi. Yep, he wrote this issue. This would be his sole book he would write. It's actually his first books he ever wrote comics for DC. Yes, this actually would be his fourth book he would write. Yes, he first did a couple few issues of Showcase. He also did the Lobo Guy Portraits of a Balash. He previously did the Flash Annual, and he would do a story for the next Showcase book. If you're going to ask me personally, what was his very first official series he worked on? Black Adam and Dark Age. Yes, that was the very first book he worked on. Wrote the whole thing beginning and end. He did also do a couple issues of JSA Classified, which was awesome, by the way. And I still wish basically issues for. But the first long-running book he worked on was Green Lantern Corps. The first ongoing worked on. Then he, of course, worked on Nightwing. He did, of course, a run for Outsiders, book The Mighty. Excuse me. He worked on the awesome Brightest Day book. He did the next one for Green Lantern Corps. He also did Batman and Robin, the second Blind book, pretty much read every single solo book. He had a run for Detective, 2 runs Detective. Superman, Wonder Woman, Arkham. He did a lot of books for DC. Yeah, it's interesting though that you have Steel being the sole for this one issue of Steel. He write this, and then the very next issue, for issue 29, we have Louise Simonson come back for a single issue. Yeah. Yeah, she comes back. But then she leaves not long after her return. Yeah. Oh, he would also do issue 33. I almost forgot. He did do 33 as well. He did 2 issues of the book. He had 33 as well. Yep. And then, of course, basically, because of the 90s, we gotta have him fight Dr. Polaris. Yes, seriously. He fought Dr. Polaris. I mean, is it just me, or is like every single 90s comic book has to have some superhero fighting Dr. Polaris? Like, he fought Damage for a few issues. Of course, he fought Steel. He fought the Ray, Starman, Flash. Like, he appeared in like a good chunk of the 90s books. Oh yeah, he does fight Parasite in issue 29. In issue number 30, he fights off against Quake, Double, and Hotspot. Quake is a character Louise Simonson created who, sadly put after she left, he stopped appearing in the book. Hotspot, who is not the character from Static Shock, it's a woman who kind of same thing happened with her too. It's like we have these really kind of interesting characters who, as soon as the writer leaves, it's like the replacement writer doesn't want to do anything with these characters. And 31, sadly put, will be Louise Simonson's final issue in the book. You're thinking, really? Oh yeah, really. 31 would be her last issue. Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's basically like Steel taking on, basically he's possessed, and of course basically he deals with his villains. And that's it for Louise Simonson's time in the book. And then we have issue 32, we have Darren Verisco, where basically we have, get this, I kid you not, this is what happens. So, Blockbuster from Nightwing goes to DC for an issue. And you think, around this time, Chuck Dix is writing Nightwing. You would think, oh, maybe he read this issue. Nope, it's a completely like a guy by the name of Darren Verisco, whose very first comic was comic 666. 6066. He would also have a very brief run of Batman. What anyone ask? During No Man's Land. He also was aware of Batman Adventures. a long runner. He wrote a lot of Batman Adventures, a lot of our books, like Batman Chronicles. Oh, in case you're curious, though, would this be his sole issue he would write for the book? Oh, okay, that's editor. I must have clicked the wrong thing here. Writer, here we go. Okay, so yeah, he didn't write many comics. Aside from his one issue of Steel, he did one issue of Supergirl, an ending for Superman, an issue of Showcase 96, Batman Chronicles 12, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, this is probably the adaptation of the movie, and issue 115 of Batman Legend Dark Knight. But yeah, the whole thing with Blockbuster was really awesome. And then he leaves. And then basically, Tomasi comes back for issue number 33. Also, for some reason, Steel's second armor. For some reason, it's a bit sentient where he can basically call upon it. And then, like, that kind of comes as new status quo. With the, like, he can basically just will it, and there it is. But before I move on to Christopher Priest, basically, we're going to talk briefly about his run for the book. Yes, I do mean very briefly, just for about 6 issues. But Louise Simonson's run of the book. This run was absolutely amazing. Not a bad issue. And if you're curious, Steel had 2 annuals. Did she write one of them? Oh yeah, she wrote number 2. I don't think she wrote the opening annual. No, that was John Borgiva, Judith. It was an Elseworlds annual. That's basically what it was. And number 2 was a year 1 story, which makes sense. Louise Simonson write that one. And then pretty much basically you have Steel going in the sewers. He's basically no longer Metropolis or DC. He's in New Jersey. He's basically working at a hospital. And that's kind of basically what his new status quo is. Him basically in charge of this medical center. And this is what he does for the entirety of the rest of this book, running this place while being a superhero and doing various other stuff. We're also introduced to Paul Tomason. Yeah, he's introduced in Christopher Priest's opening issue. And he is here as a recurring character. He's here for pretty much most of this run by Christopher Priest. We also have Dennis Cohen on the artwork. Now, of course, him being here, there's a very special guest star in another issue. I'll get to that. We also have Dr. Meta Quack, who, that's basically her alias. She debuted in issue 5 for this book. And it's interesting, though, Christopher Priest didn't create this character, but he practically made her a regular character in the book once he took over the book. And she's here for the remainder of this book. It's like she appeared a few times, but Louise Simonson wrote her. And then, like, Priest, like, yeah, he's basically the villain. And then we also have Dr. Arthur Villain. Yes. Wilhelm. Yeah, and he is also a recurring character in the book. Yes, we also get a first appearance of a character who popped up in, when I talk about her book, Manhunter. A character by the name of I think his name is Scorpino? Scorpino. SK. Yeah, and he is also a recurring character for Steel. He appears in 37, gets a few issues, and then he's here for the remainder of this book. But oh boy, we get a special guest star soon. I think it happens really. Yes. In issue number 38, we have a guest star appearance issue by The Question. Of course The Question will appear in this book, because of course the artist drew his book. So of course he would include the character. Really interesting. On the cover, it looks like he's not wearing his coat, but in the book, oh yeah, he wears the costume he wore in the actual book, which good on basically Dennis Cohen for doing that. This is what he could do in the cover. Yep, and then of course we have him deal with this character named Crash. Who is, believe it or not, Crash is actually, I kid you not, he is Steel's brother, who's evil. Yep. Yeah, he also was working with this guy called Double. And he would not appear very much after this. It's like he appeared a little bit when Louise Simonson wrote the book, and then I guess Priest is probably included because why not? He was around. And finally, by issue 40, basically it's all about his famous hammer and taking on some one-shot characters. I gotta admit, basically Priest. Oh, by the way, we also have a new artist. Yes, Venice Guron takes over the artwork for issue 40. In case you're curious, though, how long does Dennis Cohen do the artwork for Steel? The question that no doubt he does pretty much the whole book. For Steel, he comes in with 34. I think he skips one issue, but he's pretty much here for the entire run. Yes. Yeah, with the exception of one issue, he pretty much is the regular writer. Artist. And nice ending, basically ended with the never-ending story, because we're ending right here with this one. But Steel was very interesting. I loved every bit of this. And of course, basically, we still have a little bit to go. And this is another book, when I come back to it, I'll be done with Steel. And what's placing Steel? Well, I'm just going to replace it with basically putting Superboy Volume 1 here, because I want to get this done too. But the Louise Simonson issues were amazing. Christopher Priest had a very interesting idea when it comes to writing this book. I mean, you read this book, and with all this medical stuff, I think that John Hay Irons is working for a hospital as basically running it. No, he's running a medical center. That's kind of what he's doing here. In Jersey City. Which is interesting because most of the book first started in Metropolis, and then he went to Washington, D.C. to establish his own career, and now he's in Jersey City. Yeah, I don't get why, but that's kind of what he basically... Now, not the first appearance of this city. It first appeared in National Comic number 4. It basically is the setting of the book for the entirety of this run. Yes, Priest himself would also revisit the city during his run. I don't think it was his run. Yeah, it was during his run for Deathstroke he revisited this city. One of only 2 books he wrote where he actually visited the city. Though he did also visit the city in a cameo during an issue for Teen Titans. I think during the last contract crossover, he did basically have Deathstroke visit the city. But yeah, not much else to say. It's interesting though the fact that Raiders basically brings in a place that was first introduced in National Comics number 4. Yes. Y'all thinking like, what store was introduced in? The city was introduced in... If I can find it here. It was first introduced in a Kid Dixon story. Yeah. But it became more prevalent in recent times. Yeah, who knew a city appeared once in the 40s becomes much more prevalent thanks to Christopher Priest brought the city back as basically a feature location. Yep. But yeah, this particular view, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do another like button. Well, next up basically is Super Sentai. Yep, next video. Bye.